Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Please tell us your name.
My name is Saeed Salahuddin.
Thank you for joining us, Saeed. So, where'd you grow up?
I grew up, Los Angeles, California, southern Los Angeles, from the ghetto. But yeah, alhamdulillah, it's fine. Grew up there. I lived there till I moved to, currently live in Fort Worth, Texas. I moved here around 2008, and I've been Muslim for about 4 years. It's 2017 now, so I've been Muslim about 4 years.
So, what was life like growing up for you?
Life growing up, I lived in a different country also. When I was young, I moved to England, but I was born in the United States, growing up in the United States, I remember when I moved to England, it was cool. It was very different though, because I come from, the United States, very segregated. I grew up in, black neighborhoods and, Hispanics, around too, and, some white people too. But when I moved to a small town called Caen, England, yeah. And me, my brother, and my sister, and my mom were the only black people there. So it was like weird, but I didn't experience any kind of racism when I was there though. Honestly, it was more like of a nationalism. They should tell me, you stupid American, go back to the States. Like it wasn't like racism, like you black, it like here it would be, but it's like go back to, United States. Like they didn't like us. So yeah, but then I stayed there. I hated it, because it rained all the time and it was cold. You can't take somebody from, living in California to a freezing place like England where it snows every year. So we moved back to the United States. I went in kindergarten. I came back in the 2nd grade and moved to Southern California again. And I grew up there, went to elementary, and I had to, another culture shock kind of, because I became a Brit over there kind of, so I came back, people made fun of me. My accent, what I thought was cool. They even made fun of my swim trunks, because in England they wear Speedos, like that's the thing. Here they wear swimming trunks. They, made fun of me about that, so. But, growing up as African American, that's part of just being African American. Like you make fun of each other. That's our way of saying like, I mess with you, like, what I'm saying? So, but, growing up like that, and I came back, I was living, my family was poor, so we lived in, shady places. Well, not shady, but in the ghettos, but you have good people there. You also have bad people like anywhere, but people don't have that much money. So I grew up there, learned from people around where I go. I started a gang member, drug dealer, a robber, schemer, plotter. Became all that at a young age. And when I was young, I went to jail. I can't remember how old I was. I was about the 6th grade. I remember one day I was chilling, me and my homeboy. It was a place called Ralph's. It's a grocery store in Southern California. And we went in there, and we used to go in there and steal, like every day. Just what we did. Even if we had some money, we still gonna steal. But this day, I thought I was balling. I'm in 6th grade. I got like $20 all in ones. So I feel like I got some money, So we go in there and I'm gonna actually buy some stuff this day. And I'm gonna buy me and my homeboy some candy. They sold candy by the pound there. So I said, yeah, I'll buy you a couple pounds of candy, me too, So we ride up there and we didn't have cars, we were kids, So we rode bikes everywhere. And if anybody who grew up riding bikes and stuff like that, you always gotta have like a wrench or something, cause your chain might pop or you might need some Allen keys, fix your handlebars or anything like that, swap parts and all kind of stuff. I was like a master bike mechanic. So, but anyway, it's the winter time also, so we go up there and I'm in the store, I'm weighing up candy, doing all that. And I pay for the candy, me and my homeboy, and out of nowhere I just see my homeboy, he shoots off, and I look like he just dipped out. He didn't say anything, he just shot off, boom. And then I look around and I see the manager, he running up on me like, it's like he grabs me. I'm like, I haven't done nothing. So I had on my coat. So I come out of my coat, but at the same time, I don't know this guy, just some grown man. I'm a kid, 6th grade. I think I'm grown, but I'm a kid. I remember I used to joke like, man, I'll beat a grown person up. Like I thought I was tough. Like, now I look at 6th graders, like I remember I was that age and I thought I could beat grown man up, but I laugh at it now. But it's a lot of people like that. Everybody's like, it's like a cool thing to say. Like, I'll beat somebody growing up. and really believe it, you know. But but anyway, so I don't know. This guy, he's grabbing me, the manager at this grocery store. So I come out of my coat with my, I had a monkey wrench, and he comes to grab me again. And I hit him. Remember, I'm not stealing anything. My friend, he was stuffing pounds and pounds of candy in his coat and pants and stuff like that. So when I hit him, boom, and I ended up breaking the manager's wrist with the wrench. So I go to jail. And no, man, I'm like 12, sixth grade is around 12 years old in middle school in California. So I go, they take me to jail for assault and battery. And I remember I go to Juvenile hall and I get introduced, because at that time I was living outside of Los Angeles in a city called Lancaster, California. It's in northern Los Angeles County. And it's, you know, I'm from the hood though, but it's not as bad as, you know, and everybody in this Juvenile hall, this is LA County, but most of the kids come from inner LA, you know what I'm saying? I think I'm tough, but they tougher than me. So I'm there, and I walk through the door, everybody asks me, where you from, you know, what set you from, or what gang you in, or this and that, banging on me. And, you know, if anybody's familiar with the LA, you know, if you say the wrong thing, it's a fight. Like, immediately you say the wrong gang, it's a wrap. Like, you're gonna fight right then or get jumped, or so you really kind of hoping you don't got a bunch of rival gangs in that thing. So I'm getting banged on, you know. And once I go there, and I stayed, they sent me to jail for 6 months. And remember, I'm 12, so 6 months is like 10 years to me. It's like a long time. That's a long time for any grown man to be in jail. 6 months is a long time. But so I'm sitting there, and you know, after that 6 months, it did more damage to my character and my mind state than probably any other time I've been in jail ever in life. So when I went there, you know, I got out, and I'm thinking I'm tough. I've been doing push-ups. I'm in 7th grade now. I think I'm tough. I get out, I'm more advanced than anybody at my school. I'm talking about stuff that, you know, grown people talk about. You know, I know certain aspects of certain things that other 7th graders don't know. I get out, I got tattoos and stuff, so I think all the girls like me. They like bad guy. I'm a bad boy, so they like me. I'm that guy. So, you know, I go back to school. And I don't stay out that long. I immediately, me and my friend, we went, this is around the time where Boost Mobiles were hot, like chirps, like the walkie-talkies and stuff. We go in there, we end up stealing like 10 of those phones from this store, and I go back to jail for commercial burglary, because we broke in the store and stole it. So I end up going back out. And once you go to jail once, and you get accustomed to it, going back is nothing. Like, it's like, oh, I don't care, like, what is jail? Like, I'm used to it. Like, what we gonna do? We gonna go there, we gonna do some push-ups, we gonna fight a couple people, and we gonna get back out. It becomes like, oh, jail is nothing, I don't care, I fade that. Oh, they'll give you 9 months? I do not, it's nothing. I just go get swole. Like, it's nothing, like, it's like a retreat. Like, it's like you coming home to the streets is like vacation, but then you go back home. Like, honestly, this is a mind state, because I know people that do that with prison time now. Like, they go do years, and they get out, and they stay out for about a few months, and they go back. This is how going back home now. They're used to this. This is normal. Like, coming out here, they don't know how to act. But I kind of had the same kind of mind state, kind of a mild version of it, though. I wasn't completely. But my mom, actually, she was a good woman. My mom, she don't cuss, she didn't do drugs. A lot of my homeboys, like, their parents were like crackheads, dope fiends, or dope dealers. Robbers, gangsters, you know, stuff like that. And we looked up to the older people. But I didn't grow up with my father, but, you know, my mom she was a, you know, she was a, you know, Christian lady, you know, was a school teacher at a Christian school. You know, she taught me right from wrong. Like, it wasn't like I was just doing these things because I was never taught what was right. Every time I did it, I knew what was right and what was wrong. I just decided to do whatever because I was rebelling, because I didn't have, you know, a man in my house to tell me, like, if you do that, I'm gonna whoop you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my mom, she can't really do nothing. I just dip out. I used to run away. Well, my mom called it run away. I used to just be out for about weeks at a time. She thinks I come home every day, but she'll be at work. I just get new clothes, take a shower, and you know, dip back out. But anyway, so that was my lifestyle. But anyway, when I went back to jail for the stealing all the phones, me and my homeboy didn't get caught, and I ain't tell on him, because, you know, being a gangster, like, you don't tell on your homie. Like, if I had told on him, as soon as I would have got out, and I live in my gang territory, so I would have got smashed as soon as I would have got out of jail anyway. But I didn't feel like telling on him anyway. But that's just how things go there. But so I get out from that, And I'm getting all kind of props from my homeboys, you know what I'm saying, for staying, you know, stiff, as they call it, not snitching or whatever, you know what I'm saying. So I'm feeling myself. People looking up to me, little homies looking up to me. I'm like the big homie now, kind of. You know, I'm in 8th grade. I'm like the big homie to all the little homies in the hood. But so I get out and I stay out for a while, and then I get violated, you know, for dirty UA, smoking weed, you know, just doing my thing, just thinking I'm grown. And I get violated, and they send me to, I catch another case too, but they end up sending me to YA. YA is like prison, juvenile prison type. Before that, I went to camp. You know, I went to Camp Jarvis, Camp Smith, been to Camp Mendenhall, you know, and from there I went to YA. And when I went to YA, it was like, when I got there, I was used to jail, but it's like on a higher scale. The oldest people there are 25, but the youngest people there are people, you know, everything from elementary school all the way up to 25. But we're not housed with the people that are 25, but that's the oldest you can be. Like if they give you YA life, you can be up to 25 there. So like say you were 14 and you killed some dude, they'll give you like YA. Sometimes you get charged as an adult though, but sometimes they give you YA life, and then you got life, but juvenile life, and you get out when you're 25. But to somebody that's 14, you don't get out till you're 25. What kind of effect do you think that's gonna have on them, on their mental state when they've been locked up for that long? You get what I'm saying? But when I got there, I see young people, you know, weaker individuals that ain't kind of stiff, that, you know, they might fight or something, but they not down with the whole being gangster 24/7. Everybody think they hard, you know what I'm saying? You can't kick it with no Mexicans, you can't kick it with no white dudes, you know, nothing like that. And people getting raped, we having riots, people getting stabbed, and these are juvenile, these are just kids, you know. Honestly, I feel like juvenile is worse than adult prison because they so ruthless, like nobody can tell anybody, no, there's no kind of structure. There's way more fights, there's way more, everything is just because kids, they just want to do stuff just to do stuff. Just bored, they got all this energy and they want to get it out, and everybody's just super tough. So they want to do that whole thing. So I go there, go to YA for 9 months, and then when I got out, my mom was like, man, I can't really handle you, so I'm gonna send you to your pops. And I don't remember him. I remember one instance of being with my pops when I was a kid, probably like 4 years old. But I never lived with him before, so she said, whenever you get out, you going to Texas, to your dad's, you know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm not finna go out there with that fool. He ain't nobody, who is he? You know what I'm saying? Like, Texas, that's what I'm thinking, everybody in Texas, you know, riding horses and cowboys. Like, I never even heard about Texas really that much, unless it was, you know, I heard of Houston, probably, but that's it. Like, you never even hear about Texas when I was growing up. I ain't watched the news or nothing. But anyway, so when I got to Houston, I lasted at my dad's house for officially probably like 2 months. In the summer, whenever the summer was over, I was gonna enroll in school and I was gonna go to school there. I was 15, almost 16. So I got there, and then I ended up, me and my homeboy from New Orleans, because a lot of people from New Orleans and Houston at the time. It was right after Katrina. So I was there, and you know, me and him, we talked to girls and this and that, and one day we got caught in these girls' house, you know what I'm saying? It was nighttime, so, and their parents busted in on us, and we ended up, you know, jumping the stepdad. We packed him, and then they had some family meeting, my dad, their parents, and they was like, and my dad was kind of like, man, what do you expect me to do with you? Like, and I was still didn't care, because I really don't respect this guy either, you know what I'm saying? Like, who are you? I don't know you like that. But so he ended up sending me back to Los Angeles that same night, packed my stuff, and I got on a Greyhound and made that 2-day trip from Houston all the way back to Los Angeles, man. It was a long drive, but I made the trip back, and I was happy, like, yeah, man, I'm back in the hood now. I ain't got to worry about none of that stuff they got in Houston, you know. So I went back to LA, but my mom already had another plan. She was like, nah, I'm finna move to Fort Worth, because most of my family's from here. I'm just raised me, my brother, my sister, we just raised in California. Most of my family's from Texas. So she was like, nah, she already got a plan for it, so she was moving. She sent me out here, me and my sister, to my cousin Tracy, and she lived in Fort Worth. Well, actually in Crowley, but Fort Worth. And so we moved I stayed there for like 2 weeks, and then my mama put me on the airplane and shot me right back to Fort Worth because she didn't want me staying in LA because she know a lot. And when I went back from Houston, in that 2-week span, four dudes I grew up with, same from my same gang, same neighborhood, they got killed in that same. My mom knew all these dudes. They used to come to my house and kick it. My mom knew all these dudes, and they got killed. And my mom was like, "Nah, you can't stay here because you would meet the same fate." All over gang violence, you know, just people get killed. I'm not saying just for standing outside in the wrong neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like if you beat this guy up and he don't like it, and he know you from a certain gang, he'll just go to your gang territory and just beat up, stab, or shoot anybody standing outside because they from that gang. That's just how it is. Everybody's a gang member in the hood, like in Southern California. Well, I can't speak for the whole Southern California. Well, in the ghettos of Southern California, gang tension is always high, you know. So that's that. So my mom had a plan. So she shot me back out here on the airplane to Crowley, and I got here, and I'm 16. I'm about to turn 17, but I'm still on parole, juvenile parole. And when I come out here, you're an adult at 17. And my birthday's about to come up, and they're gonna have to discharge me off of it at 17 out here. So I get off of that, and I don't go to school. You know, I start selling drugs out here still. You know, doing my same little things. But I seen how behind, I guess, like streetwise that people are in Fort Worth. I'm not disrespecting people in Fort Worth, because they, you know, if you feel like your city is just, people will brag about, yeah, my city is the murder capital. Like people brag about stuff like that. Like, yeah, people getting their head busted in my city. Like that's nothing to brag about. People get killed everywhere. I'm not saying Fort Worth isn't, you know, anything, but I'm saying they're behind Los Angeles. But so I got here and I seen how behind they were, and I was just plotting and scheming and getting over on people here and doing the same things. And you know, I ended up going to jail a few times here, evading arrest, because you know, drug deal, police show up, I run off, dips the drugs, go to jail, get out, bond out, whatever. And then in 2010, it was me, my homeboy Buck, he from LA too, from Rolling 30 Crips, and his brother from Gray Street Watts Crips, and I kick it with them, you know what I'm saying? So we all from LA, so we got our own thing, so we do the same kind of stuff. But one day I was chilling at my apartment, and I was asleep actually, and they went out and hit this lick. They kicked in this dude's door that sell drugs. They kicked in his door, everybody in there, and tied him up. And it was 4 people. One of them tried to jump out the window. I know this from all the paperwork from when I got locked up, but one tried to jump out the window, and they tied him up. But they sent somebody in to buy something that knew them so he can unlock the door, but he didn't unlock the door, so they kicked it in anyways. And they just robbed everybody. But the dude that they sent in, he got caught and he told it. You know what I'm saying? He told everybody that did it, but he knows if he tells on my homeboy Buck and Bravo, he knows that I'm not gonna be in jail and I'm gonna do something to him for that. So he said that I did it too, but I didn't do I had nothing to do with these robberies. So when that happened, I get locked up. Well, Buck gets locked up first, and then I told him, because Buck one day, I was sitting up, he gets up early in the morning, and we were sitting in the morning about to smoke. And he went to the store to get some papers to smoke, and I remember he walked out the door, and all I seen was flashing lights down the street where he was walking to by the corner store, and they locked, and he never came back. And then I seen all the flashing lights, and then they came and knocked on the door and was like, man, where is Cali at? That's my name. So I'm thinking automatically, like, man, he done told on me like that, like it's supposed to be my homeboy. I'm thinking he's stiff. So I'm like, man, he told on me like that. But you know, they're yelling through the door actually, and they're like, where's Cali? We know you're in here, but they don't have a warrant, so they don't come in. They're beating on the door. Then I go and use the bathroom, and my girlfriend at the time, we ended up having a kid later, but my girlfriend at the time actually answered the door. And she said, and they're like, where's Cali at? Can we come in? And she said, don't nobody by that name live here. And she shuts the door. And they said, can we come in to check? She said, do you have a warrant? And they said, no. She said, well, no. So she shut the door. I'm surprised they just didn't walk in and just ask later, like they usually do to many people. But so they leave, and I move out that apartment immediately. And then I told my homeboy, Buck's little brother, I told him, man, you need to get up out of here, man. I moved back to my mom's house because she was out here by then living in Burleson. And I move out. So when I move out, a few days later, they came back. He was still living there, and they kicked in the door and snatched him out the toilet and sent him to jail. Like, seriously. And charged him with 4 counts of aggravated robbery, which is a first-degree felony in the state of Texas. And the sentencing ranges from 5 to 99 years. So they lock him up. So I'm still out. You know, I'm still out doing my thing. I'm thinking I'm good. Like, I ain't do no robbery, but I still want to know why they calling my name, why, you know, my street name out here. And so I'm like, I don't know. So one day I was chilling, and I was walking through these apartments because I was going to the store. And then I walked through these apartments, and I seen these dudes. They was all on the sidewalk, and I didn't want to walk on the sidewalk because it was muddy, and I didn't want to get my shoes dirty. So I told them, you know, excuse me, y'all, like, let me get through here. It was like 6 of them dudes, and it's just me and my girl at the time. And, you know, they don't want to move, so I walked through them, like, get out the way. And then they start acting tough, and I said, you know, that's fine, like, we can fight, like, one-on-one, I'll line y'all up, like, it's nothing, like, it's cool. And then I seen the whole group, they start pulling up their pants, like, they finna jump me. So I draw down on them, actually, and I told them they froze up and they got somewhere. But one of the dudes actually was young. I didn't know this, but it was nighttime. He was actually young, and he went and told his mom, and his mama called the police and said that I pulled a gun on him. So I'm back. I go to the store, go back, and I'm sitting on the curb, and the police swoop up, and they gaffle me. They, you know, send me to jail. And I'm asking him what I'm going to jail for. He said, man, somebody had a report that said that you pulled a gun on him. So he run my name. And then he said, oh, never mind, don't even worry about that. You got 4 counts of aggravated robbery, you know, pending on you. I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, anybody who know anything about, you know, aggravated robbery, that's a life sentence. 4 counts, like 4 times, like you out of there. So I go to jail, and I had some money saved up, but I didn't have a great lawyer anyways. But he ended up, you know, doing some good lawyering, I guess, you know. And he got the charges dropped off of me, but I stayed in the county jail for over a year fighting the case. And then so I got out, so I did a year for no reason. And the dude that told got more time than everybody. So, but anyways, I don't understand that. Snitches don't tell on people like you'll get more time in state of Texas. But anyway, I've seen that in multiple different cases. But yeah, so I get out. And then I went to go, I'm still doing my own thing. I beat the case, and my mentality is still the same. So I beat the case, and then I ended up catching another aggravated robbery case because I went to sell this guy some bars, and he draw down on me. So I told him, you know, you can have that, you know, so I ain't tripping, you got that. But I can tell the dude is not a real jacker because he got the drugs in his hand, and he just telling me to walk off, like, he ain't going in my pockets, he just wants me to leave. He ain't hit me with a pistol or nothing. Like, he's not a real, like, jacker like that. So I'm like, bet. So I'm like, boom, I leave. So I'm walking to my car, and I know he ain't, you know, stiff like that. So I'm like, what you doing? And then he's like, you know, I get to the car, I'm like, I should just let him have it. But I was like, nah, I can't let my ego's in the way. So I'm like, nah, I don't like that. So I went and I had a gauge in the car, so I get the gauge and I run back up on the dude, and I started beating the crap out of him, you know what I'm saying, and get my stuff back, and plus anything he had, and his homeboy and his girl. But his girl, I was beating the dude so bad, his girl thought, you know what I'm saying, I was gonna kill him, so she ran and called the police and said that I met up with them, and we were just chilling, smoking a J, and then I just pulled out a gun and robbed them for their money and their shoes and whatever. And I get locked up, you know, for aggravated robbery because of that right there. And then when that happens, I was sitting in the county for 2 years fighting it, and they offered me like these football number years, like 50s and 40s and 20s and stuff like that. They offered me these numbers, and I'm like, no, I'd rather go to trial and y'all give me those kind of numbers than me sign. And then after being in in the county jail for 2 years, my lawyer finally comes to me and said that, you know, he feels like the lowest offer that he can give me is 10 years aggravated, which means you have to do at least half of your time before you can even come up and they'll even consider giving you parole. So I have to do 5 years before they consider. So I'm like, no, I'm not signing for that. So he said, okay, we're gonna have to go to trial. And I don't want to go to trial. I do, but I don't. I don't want to deal with the consequences if I lose, because it's very easy to lose in trial. You might get an appeal later on, but by the time you get your appeal, like you've been in prison like 6, 7, 8, 9 years, and you finally get an appeal, you might lose that and you have to go to another step like habeas corpus and stuff like that. I don't want to go through that whole process, so I ended up bargaining and getting a 6-year sentence for something, you know, that wasn't even nothing. So once that happens, once I get to 6 years, so I already been in the county for 2 years, so I just have to do 1 more year to see parole. So I'm like, man, I could just do 1 more year and I might, you know, be all right. So I come up, I've been in prison now. No, I get to prison, let me stop there. I get to prison, and, I've been a gangster since elementary school. At least I thought I was a gangster. And so it's nothing, I'm used to jail. It's kind of softer, I feel, but it's still real though. And then I sit there and I start thinking about, you know, a lot of stuff, and I'm seeing, you know, Crips, Bloods, Tango Blast, you know, TS, you know, all these prison gangs and street gangs, and they got their own cliques, and the blacks and the whites and everything is so segregated and this and that. But I see one group of people though, but they all mixed up. It's a gang, they just mixed up. And you got people who solo also, but if you solo, you know, them people, they don't, you know, they can really get handled, because anytime just a group of people just come over and take whatever they got, and you just out of there. But you know, I don't gotta worry about that kind of stuff, because really most of that happens to like people who are, you know, white, because they're like the minority in prison. You know, they're a minority, so they don't have as much, you know, standing ground in prison life. So I seen the group that was mixed were Muslims, and I encountered Muslims, you know, growing up in Los Angeles, you know, because a lot of my homeboys went to the pen, got out, they Muslims. But you know, they Muslim, but they still, you know, mess up, because our Muslims aren't perfect, you know. They still mess up. They might be in the streets and then they get it together, but they'll still give you dawah. They'll still tell you, the young homies or other homies too, they give them dawah, and they tell them about Islam and this and that. So I knew a little bit about it. Nothing substantial though. I knew the word Allah and Muslim, you know, and they wear kufis. That's probably my knowledge of Islam. And my first encounter with Islam, probably I was standing in Los Angeles on the corner, not on the corner, in front of this corner store, and I met this dude. He had a kufi on. He asked me why I was out there. I'm like, man, I need you to go in here and buy me some blunts, man. They won't sell them to me, because I'm like 16. I'm young. I don't know exact age. He like, man, I'll go in there and buy them for you, man, but you got to sit here and let me talk to you for a while. So I sit there and I talk to him, and I'm like, yeah, he's telling me about Islam and this and that, this and that. And I'm like, you know, cool, like whatever, but you gonna go get these blunts now? Like, that's what I'm thinking, like, you know what I'm saying? So, and he eventually does, but he first person to actually do dawah to me and tell me about Islam. So, you know, that happened. But then fast forward, now I'm in prison, and I see a few Muslims, and they pretty smart. I noticed the Muslims, they real studious. They don't do all the stuff that all the other groups do. All the other groups, they don't do nothing but, you know, drink pruno, like hooch or whatever you want to call it, wine that they made, you know, in prison. You know, they got any drug you can think of in prison too. You know, they do drugs, you know, hollering at the females, but they real strict in what they got going on. They real, you know, organized, and they studious. They real smart too. I noticed the Muslims, anybody who's been in prison, they'll know, they'll label the Muslims like, oh yeah, they smart. And a lot of people in prison are really open to Islam, but they know, like, they feel like if I become Muslim, I can't do it. Y'all too strict. Like, I can't do a lot of stuff. You know, like they know, so some people don't embrace it, but some people do. So I started, actually when I was in the county jail, I bumped into a brother. His name was Lukman. He was from Louisiana. Well, he's from Fort Worth, but he grew up in Louisiana too. And he gave me dawah, kind of. But what actually drew me to Islam, I don't know if you're gonna put this on the channel, but honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. What drew me to Islam is I was a rebel since I was young. I just rebelled against what most people were doing. I'm doing the opposite in certain things, because I went along with the crowds too. I was a father in some aspects, in certain parts of my life too, like being a gangster or whatever. But certain things, and I remember when 9/11 happened, I was a little kid, and then from there I remember people just hate Muslims. People hate Muslims. So I'm like, man, I never, you know, I don't even know no Muslims. I don't got nothing against them. And then I know the main person that the United States wanted was Osama bin Laden. And when I got up in age, like I started reading about it, I'm like, this dude was gangster. Like, I like this dude, you know, like honestly, and honestly, Osama bin Laden is the person who sparked the interest, honestly, not the guy in front of the store. He's the one that sparked the interest, because I was rebellious and he was a rebel too. You know, he was He's really like, he pop up on the news every few months with a message like, America, you still haven't got me, sending these messages or whatever. And they hated the guy, and I'm like, that dude's pretty cool to me, honestly. And this is what sparked my interest in Islam, because I'm a rebel. And so I'm in prison, and I'm learning Islam from these people. And I took Shahada actually before I went to prison. I was in the county. I took the Shahada, just to kind of make people mad because I was Muslim, you know what I'm saying? I just kind of refute people. But before I was even Muslim, I called myself unbeliever. What people would label me, I said I didn't believe in God, kind of. That's what I said to people. But now I think about it, knowing that it wasn't that I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe, my concept of who God was the Christian concept of God, and I knew I didn't like that. So I just said I just rejected God, period, because that's the only thing I knew about, religious grounds of what people said God was. So I was like, I don't believe in that. So I just told people I wasn't, and I sparked a big spark in people like, oh man, you don't believe in Jesus Christ, and I like that. So I just debate with them. I was a rebel. That's what I do. Like, yeah, nah. Woo. So I get into that kind of stuff. And then I embraced Islam, and I hope Allah never sends me back to that kind of state. But alhamdulillah, so I took Shahada, and I started studying Islam, and I stayed in prison for 5 years. And I just studied Islam. And one of my teachers, Brother Sabri in El Paso, he taught me a lot about Islam, and the core of Islam, like the basics. He taught me the basics, and I'm no scholar now. I just know the basics, but I just built on what he taught me. And I've been Muslim 4 years now, alhamdulillah. I've been out of prison for about a year. I have a job, I have a family, I have 2 kids, alhamdulillah. May Allah make them good Muslims. And anybody who's interested in Islam or watches this video or just study Islam. If you study Islam, Don't say, oh, well, these people say about the Muslims this or these people say about them. Just put it to the test. Like, don't take anything for if I tell you something about Islam, anybody, and I come to you saying Islam, where did you get it? Okay, you got it from the Quran. How authentic is that? Do that with any religion. And like if you study any religion like from this standpoint, like how authentic is that, and can I refute this, and can I do this, and can I do that with it? Just refute it like that, anything, and I'll tell you, Islam will stand out between everything else because you can back it up. Even Hadith, the Quran you read, there's no like Orientalists, like they kind of refute, like, oh, the Quran is the word of Muhammad, or did whatever, and they kind of try to refute it like that. But even Hadith. Our hadith is stronger than other people's religious books that they, like we know who said what from who, and we have biographies of who these people are, and who's their father. We know the whole lineage of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We can go back 3 and 4 generations before him, who he was, and we know who, his background and who he was and things like that. So just if you're interested in Islam, study it. And what I did when I became Muslim, even though after I took the Shahada, I still had kind of doubts. I liked Islam, but there were certain things about it, saying like, why do we have to pray this certain way, or why do we have to, fast this certain kind of way? So what I would still do, I was still trying to find a flaw in it. And I encourage people to do, I'm not saying like doubt the Quran, anybody, but what I'm saying is to get yaqeen, to be certain about something, you have to put it to the test. So what I used to do when I used to read the Quran, I always try to find something. And one time I came across something, I don't know the exact verses, but I don't want to say them, but it was about time, and I thought I had something. Allah said He created the earth in 2 days here, 6 days here, and then there's another verse that cleared it up for me. But I thought I was on to something, but it was nothing. But there's nothing in the Quran, there's no contradictions, and if you just follow the Sunnah and just study the Prophet Muhammad's life, and you'll say, and then some people call the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam false prophet. We can prove his prophecy more than anybody else. Anybody else that you say is a prophet, we can prove the Prophet Muhammad's prophecy more than them. We know the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they paid so much attention and recorded what he did. We even know the order that he clipped his fingernails in. Wallahi, and there's a hadith from Bayhaqi, tells you the order that he clipped his fingernails in. Like, who else can you say that about? I don't even know what order I clip my own fingernails in. Like, seriously though, like, it's very, they paid attention to how long his hair was, how he was bearded, how he walked, how he laughed, how he smiled, how he did all these things. But just study Islam and go to a masjid, and just, like I said, put everything to the test. Don't just put it on the back burner. Oh, well, those Muslims, they say the Muslims this. Just put it to the test. But inshallah, hopefully anybody who watches the video, inshallah, Allah will guide you to the correct path and you embrace Islam, take Shahada, and you become knowledgeable Muslims, good practicing Muslims, you know, and inshallah, may Allah give us all hidayah, inshallah.
And so, what do you think of Osama bin Laden now?
Osama bin Laden now, I believe, I just hope, you know, I just pray for any Muslim, I just hope that Allah have mercy on them in this life and in the akhirah, but I don't agree with what Osama bin Laden, you know, the killing of innocent people, it's not justified in Islam, and it's just not. He attracted me, like I said, because I was a rebel, but now I just hope, you know, may Allah have mercy on him, and make sure, inshallah, he may tawbah for any wrongdoing. Any Muslim, if you do something wrong, you know, just ask Allah to forgive you and guide you to the correct path, and don't continuously do the wrong thing. So inshallah, you know, but I don't justify the killing of by anybody, from Muslim, Christian, secular people. Like I don't agree with the killing of innocent people for anything. If you study the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even when he went to war, there were guidelines. He said, don't kill women, folk, don't even cut down trees. So the killing, the religious people. He even let even when he ruled Medina, he even let the Christians keep their churches. And now you see, you know, on TV you have ISIS. He said, you know, keep the cross and whatever. You got people destroying these people's churches and all that. This is not Islam. The Prophet Muhammad was Halim. He was forbearing and he had tolerance, and these people had rights. And even if you look at Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, he kept these people's rights too, of the, you know, of the people who prayed the jizya and things like this. So, you know, inshallah, we stay on the right path.
Thank you so much for your story, Saeed.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair. I hope that people watch this can benefit from this video. Inshallah.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.